Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be video 2 in McCall 7831. If you missed video 1, make sure you click up here and check that out. So I'm just going to jump right in. When I left off in the first video, I was playing around with my pocket. I said I wanted to put a little initial up here. My machine is not an embroidery machine. It just does decorative stitches. So instead of this being like really embroidered and really like popping off, it's just stitches, which is okay, but I was kind of hoping for something else. But anyway, I have my pocket pressed, and over in step 7, we were supposed to baste along this right here, fold this over and baste it, and then in step 8 we were supposed to top stitch along the basting. So I went ahead and did that. So now I'm ready to go ahead and put my pocket onto the front of my jumper dress and then stitch all around it. So I'm going to grab my pins, and you should have transferred some circles. My circles are right here on the back, I can see them. Okay, so once you have your pocket pinned, go ahead and take it to the machine, and you're going to stitch around your pocket and make sure that you leave this open. So let's go ahead and do that now. I'm going to secure the top of my stitch right quick, which I think I did this backwards. I'm pretty sure I did it backwards. I'm gonna have like 1,000 stitches up here at the top. I'm gonna pivot again. Alright, now I have my pocket sewn on. We can move on to the next step. So after you have the pocket sewn on, the next step for us to do is to start working on our ties. So I have my tie piece right here, piece number 5, and you want to make sure you already have your interfacing fused to it. This is my interfacing right here. So what you want to do, you want to fold it right sides facing, fold it in half along that fold line. Then you're going to take it to the sewing machine, and you're going to stitch this closed, this long edge closed, but you're going to leave this part back here open. So again, you're going to fold it right sides facing, stitch this bottom half, stitch this long side, but the part where the marking is, this little angle diagonal part, we're going to leave that part open. So go ahead and take it to the sewing machine and go ahead and stitch it now. So on a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, I'm going to start back here on this side with the strap. You can definitely put pins in yours if you need to, but I'm not. Pivot. Make sure you're still lined up and continue sewing. Now we can trim the seam and then flip it right side out and give it a good press. I have my strap trimmed, turned right side out and pressed, and now I'm going to go ahead and stitch 1/4 of an inch on both sides of the long edges. I'm going to do the other side of it the same way. Okay, so now that the straps are all done, now we can grab our back piece and go ahead and put our straps in place. So here are my straps, and you should have transferred some circles on the back. Here's one, here's one. So I'm just going to line up my strap here, pin it in place. And I'm going to take this one and line up with the raw edge, match the circles, and pin it in place. I can take it to the machine now and go ahead and baste the straps on. I have my straps basted on, and you can just do a quick test to make sure you have them on the right way. After you baste it, just lift it up and make sure they're not crossing. So this is how your straps should look once you lift them up. So now we can go ahead and put the front to back right sides facing and go ahead and pin and stitch our sides together. I'm gonna find my notches and pin there first. Once you have it all pinned, go ahead and pin the other side, and then go ahead and take it to the machine, stitch it together, and then finish off your seam allowance. Okay, the side seams are sewn, and I also finished them off with my serger. It's a little wrinkled because I tried it on to make sure I had the fit that I wanted, and it fits great, so I'm super happy about that. Go ahead, put the dress to the side, and let's grab our facing pieces. I've already applied the inner facing to them. So with right sides facing, I'm gonna go ahead and pin them right here on the side, match up your notches. Once you have them pinned, go ahead and stitch them in place, and then I'm also gonna finish off this lower edge of the facing here with my serger. Okay, y'all, I just finished sewing the side seams of the facing. Now I'm gonna open this seam out and give it a good press, and then finish off the bottom half of the facing. So I just finished off the lower half of my facing. Now, if you have bias tape that you want to use, that's a great option as well. I did want to show you that after I serge it, I have like this loose tail here, and I really don't like that because sometimes it unravels like you just saw. So I'm just gonna take the little tail here, I'm gonna fold it over right onto the serger stitch. And I'm just going to zigzag stitch this down just to hold it in place so that it's not unraveling and flopping in my dress. Just zigzagging it down, and I'm only on the serger thread, not on the facing. So now you can see the tail end of that facing. I just have it zigzag down. So that's something that I like to do when I serge something and I have a little bit of tail left over. That's what I do. Now that the facing is done, I can go ahead and grab my dress, and I'm gonna flip it right sides out so we can go ahead and attach the facing. Okay, I'm gonna make sure I have my straps down and out of the way. You wanna make sure when you are sewing those that you're careful not to catch them and stitch those up. So with right sides facing, I'm gonna go ahead and put my facing over the dress. I'm gonna start right here at my side seam, line up those stitches, and then just pin the facing all the way around. Once you have the facing pinned, go ahead and take it to the machine. You're going to stitch all the way around using a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, being sure not to catch in your straps, and make sure that you pivot when you get to these corners. Now that I have the facing attached, I'm going to go ahead and trim a little bit of this away, especially around my corners. Going to do some trimming all the way around the facing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn everything out, but I looked at the instructions and it does not say to do any understitching. I am going to do understitching because I know that understitching helps to keep the facing toward the inside of the garment. So with understitching, I'm going to make sure that my seam allowance is facing my facing. So my seam allowance is all, I'm going to press it so it's all going this way. And then I'm going to stitch close to this edge just to make sure that the facing will stay toward the inside. After I have that stitched, then I'm going to tack the facing down on the seam allowance right here on the side. Now that I have the facing all sewn in, you can see where I did understitching. I did it as far as I could go. I wasn't able to get like up here in the tight places, but I did it all the way around. And then once I had it understitched, I also tacked it down over here on the seam allowance. So the facing is all good to go. The next step is for us to make this little V top stitch at the back of our jumper dress. You want to stitch along the stitching lines that you transferred, forming this little V shape in the back. So go ahead and take it to your machine and just stitch along your markings that you transferred. Okay, y'all, so I'm over on step 24 and I realized I may have gotten a little ahead of myself. I did the understitching because one, that's just something I always do when I do facings. I always do understitching to make sure that the facing stays inside the garment and doesn't roll out as you wear it. But over on step 24, it has us doing all this top stitching that you possibly could eliminate the understitching if you want to, but I already have mine in and I'm good with that. But over on these sides of the jumper dress, you need to do a 1/4 of an inch stitch on both of these sides. So it's going to be a 1/4 of an inch stitch all the way around. On the back, you follow your stitching line that you transferred to create this V, and then on the front, you stitch 2 inches down straight across. So again, it's 2 inches down straight across on the front. On the sides, it's a 1/4 of an inch stitch all the way around on both of these sides, but then on the back, you're following along with that stitching line to create this V. So let's go ahead and do all those stitches right now. Okay, so I have all of the stitching done, and if you can look closely right here, you can see where I did my understitching, and then I'd have the 1/4 of an inch stitch. So I have a lot of stitches going on, but at least everything is nice and neat. So the next thing is to go ahead and grab our overall buckles and the buttons. So let's go ahead and do that. For my buckles, I'm going to be using these Dritz overall buckles and no-sew buttons, and it comes in a 2-pack. So this is what I'm going to be using. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up, and I'm down on step 25 in our pattern instructions. It says to apply the no-sew buttons to front at button marking following the manufacturer's instructions, and then to slip the end of the straps through the overall buckle. So I'm going to go ahead and work on this right quick. Not going to front. I have no idea where my button goes, so I need to find my pattern piece. So up here at the X, I'm going to use this pocket marking as a guide for where I need to be. So right here, I'm going to grab a pen, poke through here, grab my marking tool, just going to put a mark right here so I know. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to use the placement marking from my pocket since I already have that on. And a little mark. Okay, so now I have my marking. Sometimes you just got to pull the pattern back out if you lost your marking. And so for the instructions, it says to loop through buckle. Okay, first let's do A. With the button top side down on a firm surface, put tack into button shank and hit back of tack with a hammer to secure. So I'm going to put a little, use my seam ripper here to kind of poke a hole through here. Don't be too forceful with that. I'm going to put the nail through the back. Try to wiggle that on. Okay, I have it through. Now I'm going to take this part, I'm going to move to the floor and use my hammer to hammer it in place. Okay, so here is the no sew on button. I'm going to put that on. I'm going to flip it over. And you don't want to be too forceful because you can easily bend these out of place and it'll just be a mess. So just take your time and hammer it on. I still have a little bit of gap there, so I'm gonna go a little bit more. Okay, that's good. So now I'm gonna go ahead and do the other one the exact same way. Okay, so now that I have the no sew buttons applied to the jumper, now I have my straps. I'm gonna go ahead and take this one, I'm gonna push it through here, take it under this one, and then I need to bring it back through the middle part. So I'm just gonna pull it through there and then flip it back out so that it comes back through here. And then I can hook it on. So now let's do the other one. Slide it through the top, slide it through the bottom, bring it back through the middle, and then back through the top. And just pull it through. All right, so now we can go ahead and hook it. The last thing for us to do with our jumper dress is to hem it. So now I'm gonna go ahead and do my hem, which is a narrow hem. So they say to press up 5/8 of an inch, then open that out, fold in the raw edge. So just do a 5/8 of an inch narrow hem all the way around your jumper dress and you are all done. Thank y'all so much for joining me for this tutorial of McCall 7831. I really do hope that you all have enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions, please leave them below. I'll be more than happy to answer. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Blessings, everyone. Bye.